you say about curiosity, that was my word of the year last year.
Was it? Oh, well
just
done.
by chance. A big step for me was when I was given an opportunity to become a design manager at Heathrow versus now where AI is taking us. I've seen about 100 women through the last 10 years go through those lessons.
Curious Conversations.
So for this episode, and this is quite a long intro, so I'm joined by a multi-award winning board director, architect, podcaster, as I am now, mentor, judge, UK property trailblazer, wellbeing advocate, former chair of the For Women in Property, UK Construction Week role model, a lead for the Women's Partnership Challenge to Malawi, which we might talk about later, patron for Land Aid, a passion for steam trains, I saw, which is quite an interesting one, yoga enthusiastic, and an avid golfer, which we have spoken about in the past.
Absolutely.
So welcome to Curious Conversations, Rachel Bell.
Thank you very much.
No problem. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your passion for creativity, curiosity and innovation?
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And good notes there. So I'm Rachel Bell. I'm Director of Partnerships at Stride Treglown Architects. We are architects and designers, a national practice. I've actually been there for 25 years now, which is quite frightening when you think about it. But it's a practice that I've absolutely grown and thrived and loved and worked across lots of different sectors, which is kind of why I'm sat where I am now. And you say about curiosity, that was my word of the year last year.
Was it? Oh, well
just
done.
By chance.
I should have invited last year.
I think hopefully the discussions that we have today will just illustrate that I've perhaps just tried to do things slightly differently. I do struggle a little bit with the fact that I am a qualified architect. Yet I don't do any architecture per se myself personally. The drawing and the creativity comes out in all these other things.
Yeah, you got the background for it though, so you understand. I assume if everything went wrong, you could actually go back and draw something.
Yeah,
or you know somebody you can.
I was having this discussion last night. I think with the regulation changes and everything, it would be a challenge.
Yeah.
But it would be a challenge, obviously, I'd love to do.
Yeah.
I do remind people in the office that I was a Revit user champion back in the day. I actually beta tested Revit.
Wow.
So I was one of those trailblazers actually sort of proving that. But yeah, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, you don't look old enough. So at the start of every podcast, we ask our guests to complete a fun, hands-on activity to create something imaginative, showing their how play fuels creativity. So Rachel, here's some Lego. In the next few minutes, we want to create something that represents your passion for creativity, curiosity, or innovation.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. No. Do you want to pour it out? Or do you want to
pour it out? Yeah, I want to see what's in there. How long have I got?
So you've got 5 minutes or so. And then what we'll do is we'll just go through it. We'll have a quick chat about it. And if you feel like I don't really like that, you can change it throughout the podcast. I read something that Lego were really struggling until they did their a collaboration with Disney for Star Wars.
Right.
And then from that, it turned into creating models which are more complex, more interesting, and then stuff for adults, and it's sort of spurred from there. But it's
I love it.
So everyone, it's you don't have to give people instructions, and people can just go straight away and go, I know exactly what I'm doing now.
Yeah. It's lovely. I mean, I love the colours.
It'd be a bit boring if I told you beforehand you've got to do this.
Well, yeah, I've been on, the Thriving Construction one sets you a bit of a challenge as well.
Yeah.
And I think I overthought it, and I think that's the feedback that people, because you know that you've got to do it, was...
you start Googling how to do a brilliant looking...
Yeah, but the fact is you discussed it, and it was kind of fine. There was a basis of it and a principle. So
yeah, okay. So Rachel, do you want to tell us what you've built? And you've taken quite a long time to build it as well, haven't you? So
well, you get into it.
Yeah.
I suppose. Well, gorgeous colours and I think, well, we're coming to the whole principles of diversity in the industry. So that whole kind of mix up of lots of different voices and different characters, and obviously these gorgeous people in the set. So yeah, and also thinking about trying to just do the tallest tower with as many bits as you can. And there were probably other bits that you could kind of build up, but yeah, a bit of design
and competitiveness.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just nice to get back into using Lego.
I know. Well, maybe you'll be inspired and take some into the office next time around. So we'll start in some of the questions now. So as this podcast is called Curious Conversations, so I'll start with a question around curiosity. So how do you cultivate curiosity in your daily life?
So I think I mentioned before sort of my word of the year, which I've done for the last couple of years. So it kind of goes away from like a New Year's resolution. So yes, that was curiosity last year. Certainly for me, it's, I suppose, challenging the kind of maybe the stereotypical kind of way of doing things. I started off very early in my career by doing that, and I took a BTEC in construction rather than going down the A-levels route, even though I knew that I wanted to do architecture. Yeah. It just felt right for me, and I think that's the kind of the gut instinct that I tell people, that if you kind of get that bit of a flurry of butterflies, that kind of nervousness, that actually kind of take that in as a good thing, run with that. Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of taken me in lots of different directions. I never quite know where that's going to go, but that's the exciting bit.
Yeah. So that sort of, I suppose, takes us on to one of them other questions around. So your career, and as I picked up at the very beginning, has taken pretty non-linear, moved all over the place. There's been things around tall poppy syndrome, which I did look up, and I thought, that's quite an interesting thing. So it'd be good for our listeners and to, I suppose, look at it and understand what it means as well, because it's quite an interesting thing. Yeah. And I suspect people probably will suffer similar as well. So from that, and obviously with your career moving around, has your enthusiasm for curiosity and looking for new things ever waned, or has it always been pretty high up?
I think it's probably got more and more, to be honest. Yeah. I think, yes, thinking back of the different steps that I've taken, you kind of think, oh, okay. And you look back and you think, crikey, that was quite a big move. Yeah. But at the point in time, it was the right thing to do. Yeah. So, yes, I mean, you mentioned my squiggly career. I have taken, the steps to become an architect, but ever since doing that, I moved into different sectors, which is slightly unusual, but actually it gives you a variety of experience across lots of different things, which I think can give you that more rounded view. A big step for me was when I was given an opportunity to become a design manager at Heathrow, which, out of the ordinary, you kind of think, well, aviation sector for me is an absolutely big passion. Yeah. Sat being interviewed at the end of the runway at Heathrow and thinking, I've got to get this. Even though I was an associate architect at that point, they were looking for probably someone more senior. And I got it, and I had that opportunity. But that was stepping outside of your comfort zone. I was still in the kind of comfort blanket of Stride Treglown, but they gave me the opportunity to go and try something else, and that bounced into other things. Yeah. So becoming like account manager for the Sainsbury's retail account, moving into the defence sector, all very, very different things, but you can, I suppose, cross-pollinate between the way that you do things, the way that you're working with clients, the lessons learnt. But there are like whole other acronyms to learn from different sectors and everything. Then,
what do you think has been the most interesting or most, interesting sliding doors moment? So was it the Heathrow one? Was it Sainsbury's moving or doing stuff that's outside of traditional design work?
I think the Heathrow moment for me, just purely from that aviation interest at that point in time, going out of the security aspect of being in the office, traditional projects. I was managing and design manager for Grimshaw Architects at that point, which was like, okay, I'm not going to go and work for Grimshaw's, but I'm working with them. So yeah, that was a big moment for me to test me, but also have the opportunity to do something. So it was at the time that T5 was opening.
Yeah.
But we were working on Terminal 1, which was a refurbishment project. And yeah, it was an exciting time in the industry.
I do hear they need to do a bit more development there. So you never know, you might get a phone call, watch out.
I think the challenge though now is that, aviation has a big challenge as an industry around sustainability, obviously recovery still from COVID, etc. But yes, I think the whole innovation in that industry will hopefully kind of inspire it to look at different ways of going. Yeah,
and I think there's going to be different fuels used, and there's different, the way we interact with the terminals aren't just a place to go. I suppose a bit like train stations. It's not a place to just go and take you're sitting there for a couple of hours, so it's you need an experience. You need to. It's quite an interesting. It's more of like a shopping centre than an actual. Than anything else. So I suppose one of the things I suppose it'd be interesting to touch on. So as an architect, and I suppose this, you might be probably looking back on this or talking to stuff you understand about what's happened at Stride, about how do you maintain a balance between being inspired and staying original? Because obviously, imitation is I can't remember what the saying is, but something about imitation is the greatest. I can't remember what it is. Something like that. Anyway, so how do you stay inspired versus staying original?
I think it's looking at different things. I think it's having different people around you as well, being inspired by, all of them from different generations. I think it's always testing yourself and going to different places to see how people do it differently. Traveling for me is that one inspiration that I get from different environments, different architecture. So, even though I'm not particularly hands-on on project work, I'm inspired by colleagues of how they're delivering schemes at the moment with challenging and new regulations and that side, but also going to different cities and seeing how places are created and how they're taking design materials, environments, and I suppose also adapting new biodiversity elements. And I've just come back from Singapore, which was extraordinary, just to see how they, as a garden city, have really pushed the boundaries of biodiversity in skyscrapers and, across the city. So a place that really sort of made you sort of stand up and think, wow, okay, this is something to innovate and look at how you can bring that into places and designs that, we're looking at in the UK.
Is there anywhere you'd say is probably your favourite place?
Well, a few places.
Yeah.
People who will know me, that one will be New Zealand.
Yeah.
And the second place would be Malawi, which we're bound to come on to talk about.
So that was my next question. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how the Women's Partnership Challenge, how you became involved in it, tell people about what it is.
And why Malawi?
And why Malawi,
So it's a bit of a long story, I suppose, but back in 2019, I saw a lady called Kate Webb speaking at a Women in Property event. Truly inspired, came away just thinking, that's that moment, those kind of butterflies, but that kind of like, I've got to do that, I've got to have a bit of it. How do I get involved? It was one of those that I do sit back and think, is that really me? Complete imposter syndrome. I can't do this. This is too much. But Kate started stalking me on LinkedIn, and I was stalking her, and we had a conversation. And in 2019, I ended up going to Malawi with a small group. There was about 6 of us. With Kate, so actually the person who set up the trips, she was there. Truly just inspirational, life-changing, I would almost say. I've got goosebumps just thinking about it. It's a trip which challenges yourself, but also works with businesswomen out there We go into a secondary school and work with the children who are just incredible in very, very challenging circumstances. So Malawi is, I think, the second poorest country in the world. But truly entrepreneurial. The things that they do and the way that they do it and the way that they tackle life with very little is really incredible. And so, that was a 7-day trip. A little bit of a kind of snippet of lots of different things. We hiked a mountain, stayed up on one of the mountain huts. And again, if anyone knows me, I love my hiking and just being outdoors. And so we did that and came back. COVID hit. So all the plans that we had with taking that forward, and Kate and I were bouncing off ideas with doing like a 7-day hut-to-hut hiking trip and taking it quite extreme. And then in 2023, we finally got a group going out, which I was then leading. So that was that moment where I came back and I thought, that is not the end of it. I would love to do more. Other people would really benefit from seeing this environment. And so in 2023, we extended it to a 10-day trip, spent more time with the businesswomen, spent more time at the school, had 2 nights on the mountain as well,
Nice.
And went on safari. And it's all captured at the end with a bit of a moment to kind of absorb, take in what you've experienced on an island on Lake Malawi. And that was extraordinary. Saw how the dynamics worked with a different group of people, a slightly bigger group as well, and redid that in 2024, and now heading out in October this year. So with a different group every time.
Yeah, so what does 26 plus look like? Is it still, because obviously you from post COVID, you did some innovation and looked at slightly different ways of doing it. And I suppose you tested with Kate, you tested some different ways of doing things. So what does 26 plus look like? Is it still you doing the leadership, or is it other people doing it? Is it going elsewhere? Or it's like we'll get 25 over and done with first?
Oh, no. There's already sort of plans in place. It's very, very early days. So there are other people leading other trips, and each leader takes their own kind of take on what they would like to focus on or where they would like to travel. So we work with Orbis Africa, Orbis Expeditions out in Malawi. So they're in country. Yeah. And so 2026 might be a mixed trip element, but with the women's empowerment part to it. So it might look like a 2-week adventure trip that people can come in for maybe part of it, have that diversity aspect, which is about everyone being able to attend, and also see different parts of the country that I haven't actually been to either. So maybe some returning people from previous trips, just to kind of sort of see if that might work. We're just developing that and just talking through what does it look like, what would the route look like, where are the different places that we would want to go. Yeah. This is all about travelling with a purpose. That's the whole principle of these trips. We are giving back to the country. So Orbis donate part of our kind of trip funds into community work out there. The school get funding whilst we're out there. It's not a definite for each of the trips to fundraise, but by the nature of what we're doing and the people collectively going on these trips, we end up fundraising. And we've done various different projects or sponsored students at the school who have to pay for their education there. Hence why it's really difficult for the students to actually have an education.
Yeah, so when one of our other guests, one of her charities was about... it was an African charity, and she said that actually the guys who the charity support come from a very difficult background, but actually they're very inspirational in terms of how they innovate and how they, for I suppose from us where it's very first world problem type things compared to other people around the world, but it's actually inspirational in terms of how they take so little and make so much of it.
Totally, yeah. One of the discussions that we had with the businesswomen there was that she'd looked at inventing a school bag which had a solar-powered light on it. Now, on the basis that back in 2019, and I don't know what the figure is now, but 8% of the country had electricity. And so the kids are walking quite long distances to get to school, carrying these school bags. And they could charge the solar light as they're walking to school, walking back from school. And it meant that when they're doing studying at home, they've actually got a light then to study with. And so that was back in 2019 when we were talking. And just the fact that they'd put some materials together and had the solar light and able to kind of then, adapt and work with that.
Yeah. Is it so something like that seems like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, didn't I think of that? That's so simple. So I suppose often those inspirational or really practical products come from very simple ideas, isn't it? So, and I suppose there's part of things that we've seen around some things on the podcast that innovation isn't just about creating the next iPhone or something else, but doing things like that, or testing it and going, well, that doesn't work or it doesn't meet my need. We're going to iterate it and change it to something slightly different.
And I think you touched on simplicity. I think in a world where we are just so frantic and information overload, that actually getting back to basics. So the joy in Malawi is that the sun rises and sun sets fairly consistently, and then you don't necessarily need to set your alarm. Your body clock just kind of falls into that pattern. You do get up earlier. You're up at 5:30 or so. That's probably quite normal for most people, maybe normal for some people, but you just get into that rhythm. And I think because we're doing so many different things, you're less dependent on your phone there. They do actually have really good data level out there. So unexpectedly, everyone has mobile phones. So it's not that they haven't got the technology, but actually they use it in a very different way. And I think when we're traveling out there, actually putting those things away and focusing in the present and being there really kind of just makes you look around and understand what people are experiencing.
And be inspired, obviously.
And being out, totally.
Hence why you've been back several times and will be going back in the future as well.
I hope so. Yeah.
So one of the other, I think we have touched on a couple of times is around equality in the workplace, and obviously and inclusion and having a fair environment and people having a fair approach to their experiences and things like that. So do you think that promoting equality can contribute to innovation? So getting different people's ideas, and obviously I suppose it'd be quite interesting to touch on the stuff you've done in Malawi about how that has helped as well. Yeah,
I think just generally for me, right from an early stage in my career, I joined Women in Property as an organisation in the Southwest. Could see that there was a little bit of a lack of a network that I felt comfortable in. And so I joined the Southwest committee pretty quickly, actually. I sort of got involved and then thought, actually, I can help support and drive forward some initiatives. So that, as an organisation, I've been part of for 18, 20 years or so. And I really recognise the innovation that as a collective with different voices, you can kind of drive forward the message, but also support kind of more diversity in the industry. I think that whole piece around diverse voices is really innovative anyway. So encouraging diversity and inclusion from neurodiversity, from religion, from gender, absolutely every aspect of life. When you think about ultimately the industry that we're in, we're designing places that you hopefully would be able to encourage and reflect what community is in actually, the people that are designing those places with those communities. So it's having that relatable aspect. We've still got a long way to go in the construction industry. And I think that's part of your question earlier, where, I'm probably a slightly kind of quieter kind of celebrator and supporter. And actually, you do have moments where you think, where can I get the energy from carrying on doing this? And especially when you end up at events and, again, you're the only female in the room, my golf came to that kind of moment where it was just like, surely there's other women that enjoy playing golf. Why am I the only one here?
Yeah.
A very, very minor kind of element, but you do still come in challenging situations where you might be a single voice amongst kind of a very, I suppose, similar grouping of people. And it's like, well, where is everyone else? And so still being able to raise the profile or support people. And what we're seeing is that, at university and the graduates that we're seeing, it's generally a 50-50 from a gender. And so they're starting to come through, but it's supporting them on their journey then through the industry. Yeah. We still see a massive drop-off of females coming through into senior roles. And so I often get asked, so why do you need women in property? And it's like, well, we're still not there yet. There will be a need, absolutely, in the short term, whether it's the long term. Things will need to adapt. But yes, at the moment, it certainly is needed.
And I think, actually, I suppose I look back on my 26 or 27 years of career, it has changed a lot. And I think as leaders, we have an obligation to role model these behaviours.
Yeah.
So the fact that I'm sat here without a suit on, with tattoos and stuff, is a way, I suppose, of showing. I suppose it's visually demonstrating it's okay to be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, and you don't have to look like everybody else.
Yeah.
From what you traditionally believe is a property construction type person, an individual.
Absolutely.
And I think the more that happens, I think it's probably more breaking down the barriers, and there'll be more people like that who's role modelling it than people who are, I suppose, more traditional.
Yeah, and I think there's different ways that everyone can do that. I was in an amazing event last night with the Circle Partnership, which is around mentoring. The event last night was just the mentors. An inspiring, absolutely incredible room where I think we all find that we're kind of like, oh my God, what are we doing here? Because everyone else around you is doing extraordinary things. And then you think, well, okay, I'm here, so I'm with them. But we were talking about boundaries and how you set those. So some of the discussions that we've been having with the mentees, they're taking on too much, they're saying yes to too many things, and then they're becoming burnt out and just struggling. And it's like actually trying to work out where your boundaries are set. And I think I was in that position 10, 13 or so years ago. That's why I kind of changed my role from bringing a project architect into more of a partnerships business development angle, because I couldn't do it all. And I had to choose, but actually it felt like a natural route. But also then setting in boundaries around work hours. I love my yoga, so it was having that actually in my diary, so people knew that I was leaving work to go and do my yoga. Or that, some mornings I will do my morning walk before I then sit on Teams calls all day. But for me, that's the aspect that really kind of energizes me, and being in nature or having that walking time, is what kind of keeps me going. But people then being visible so that people can actually see why I'm doing it and what it's giving me.
Yeah, and if people see you doing it and going, oh, actually, it's okay for Rachel to do it, then people will do it as well.
Yeah.
I think somebody said to me a while ago, is you don't realise you're a role model. I have the imposter syndrome type stuff as well.
Yeah.
And you go, well, I'm not a real leader, I'm not this and that. And actually you are, for some of your behaviours and some things you're doing, some things you say, and you just need to reflect on that sometimes. And you are, that thing with the mentoring circle is that actually you do have a place there, and you're there for a reason. Actually, you do every so often pat yourself on the back and go, I'm not as bad as I think I am every so often.
I know, it's hard because a lot of it feels so natural.
Yeah.
And I think people expect, or some of the questions I get is, what are your struggles? And actually, yes, there's been some personal struggles and things like that to get where I've got to, but actually I enjoy what I do fundamentally. And I think I've realised, and I've got much, much better at understanding when it feels right and when it feels wrong, that you actually then work with that and say no, or encourage others to take that on, because actually handing it across to someone else is the right thing to do, and that it doesn't necessarily need me involved in it. So
no, you can't do everything. You're not the expert in everything.
Exactly.
As much as we believe we are sometimes the expert in everything, and it's probably easier to do it ourselves. Actually, people then don't get the learning and experience that they probably need to. If you end up taking on too much. So just I think every so often for people just to reflect. Sit back and reflect on, actually, life's not too bad and I'm doing all right, and actually it could be a lot worse. So actually things are okay. So we'll coming to the end of the podcast. So I'd like to obviously finish up with one around one of the reasons why we created Curious Conversations is to get different people's perspectives and views on what our built environment is going to look like in the future. So I suppose this is where, if you had a crystal ball, what do you think? How would you think we would either interact with what our built environment looks like, how it feels, how you touch it, and what? So this is like a bit more of a
what could be?
What could it be? Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you think back to the 20 years, with how we've started to use different programs in designing, and obviously I talked about Revit, and the time in my lifetime that we've changed from designing all in 2D to even from using pen and ink, which I did do, and I loved that whole drawing aspect. It's kind of one of the reasons why I became an architect, to now the designs and the computer programs that we're using, versus now where AI is taking us and what that evolves into. But I think, as you sort of allude to, materials as well, and the evolution of what we're using and how sustainability plays in that, and recycling and the whole retrofit aspects of building, and it kind of evolves into a whole really exciting kind of mishmash of where is it going. And I think it will evolve pretty quickly. You hope that the industry adapts pretty quickly to the sustainability agenda and the direction of that. But I think, as I sort of said earlier, that the cities like Singapore and the biodiversity aspect, and how nature kind of can play and kind of create a much sort of smarter community space. And it isn't just about built environment and buildings. This is about places and the people that use and work and live in those places, and actually can they be greener, more sustainable, smarter, better quality design, better kind of quality environment, healthier environments, all of those aspects. So I think it's a really exciting time, and this is, I spend a lot of my time talking to students at primary schools, and actually, trying to inspire them that, the industry has lots to offer. Maybe, not a typical, the jobs that we all do, they might not be here in 20 years' time, and how they evolve. But actually, that for me is the exciting bit. I'm not worried about it. I think that people should embrace that. We, in a way, can't control that. It will, things will sort of influence and change that. And I think for me, it's always looking on sort of the positive and an exciting sort of side. Obviously, I still have worries about various things, but that's where I think the dynamic and interesting kind of aspects really come through. So.
Yeah, I think where I suppose how we interact with our workplace now is very different pre-COVID as well. So things where you get world shocks, things like that will dictate what our built environment looks like as well. Probably to
let's hopefully not have too many more of those.
No, there is quite a lot of bad stuff about it, but there is some
good things that come
from those as well. So and people innovating as well and doing something slightly different.
Or like how we've seen, flexible working has absolutely been embraced. I know there's a few kind of questions and some businesses sort of reverting, but on the whole, it's accelerated what was a discussion and practices before COVID that have now absolutely been bedded in and embraced by companies and everyone. So
better work-life balance.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes.
As long as people don't ring you in the middle of the night, because they can do now on Teams. So would you like to tell our listeners a few of the exciting things you're currently working on?
Yes. I mean, this is what I really struggle when I'm asked this question, because I think people still imagine as an architect, you've got these things on the drawing board. And as a practice, we have loads of exciting projects on the go at the moment, from the largest UK passive house project that has just been completed to exciting sort of regeneration projects in Welsh towns like Caerphilly, etc. But personally, I've been involved in our client listening programme called Engage. This is part of one of our B Corp pillars. So I work within the customer pillar. And that's been a real sort of game changer for us as a business. We used to kind of take feedback and it would be on a standard form, put in the drawer, forgotten about. So this is collecting feedback at different stages of projects, listening to our clients and collaborators and understanding exactly how we're doing and changing things if we need to as a business. So that for me personally is a work aspect. It is something that I'm really deeply involved in. I have just set up golf lessons for women in the industry with two different...
Are you teaching people?
I'm not teaching people yet. No, I need to get my handicap down. So I still regard myself as quite a new golfer.
What is your handicap?
30.
That's good though.
Yeah, not bad. I love it, absolutely love it. And so sharing that and supporting people, that's the key thing. People really don't know where to start or get all the invites through for corporate days and think, how do I approach this? So it's really supporting people to get to know the basics, get to know, what the basic rules that just get you on the course and give you that, I suppose, empowerment to say yes to some of those invites. So we had a golf day back in September and we had 10 women playing in the golf day. That's really moved that on. So I've seen about 100 women through the last 10 years go through those lessons and continuing that. And then obviously we've talked about Malawi and really exciting. I'm just about to step up to become the chair of the limited board with Women in Property. So
well done, congratulations.
Yes, that's quite a big step. One that still I'm kind of like, what am I doing? But I've been supporting the current chair for the last couple of years whilst we're going through the transition into the limited board. And so, I've been asked to kind of take that role on when they step aside. So that's really exciting. And that continues my support across the industry with that organisation.
You don't have time for work.
No. But this is the balance. And I think understanding where I get my energy from. I mean, you say kind of I haven't got time. I'm also doing my lowland leaders walkers training at the moment. So just trying to have a few things almost as qualifications that I can use, in the future or, when I'm in Malawi on the mountain, I have, it includes first aid, outdoor first aid. So it just gives me that extra bit of confidence and also obviously the people that I'm traveling with, that confidence that I'm
you know
there.
what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
You're not just like winging it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not, but better go. I've got qualification, don't you worry. I know what I'm doing now. So, as a thank you, we'd like to make a donation to a charity you support. So, do you want to tell us which charity and why you chose them, please? Yeah,
there's a number that I'm connected with. So, it was quite a hard decision which one. But one that stands out that I've been supporting through Women in Property, a Step Into Summer event that we created during COVID. So it was a 2-week walking challenge, is a charity called SmartWorks, and it's the Bristol branch of SmartWorks. So they support unemployed women to get back into work, but also give them some coaching, some training, and importantly, the clothes that they might need to wear for interviews, which they might not be able to otherwise afford or access. So yes, I'm helping to support them. They've recently been set up in Bristol, so looking for kind of people to be aware of what they're doing. They're a national organisation and really go a long way to help support women getting back into work.
Perfect, thank you. So it's been really interesting, and you had some great insights, and I think probably the problem with these ones I'm starting to find is that I could end up talking for a long time about lots of different things. So definitely probably invite you back, probably a post-Malawi.
Absolutely.
Understand what's going to happen next after Malawi would be really
yeah.
good. So where are you going to take on next, and understand whether your lowland training actually did help you and whether you did need it or not. Hopefully, touch wood, you didn't. So so to our listeners, I hope you found today's episode really interesting, and hope you stay curious, stay creative, and catch you on the next episode of Curious Conversations.
Curious Conversations.